If you could go back 20 years and tell yourself something, what would it be?
I would tell myself, the grass is not always green on the side. It's greener. Where you make it, it could be greener.
Trusted and proven. Pushing the limits on every shot. We never fear failure. Join us as we set ourselves against the odds, bringing you cutting-edge voices in every industry. This is the Ironclad Podcast. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Ironclad Podcast. This week, we've got a special guest. Travis Kennedy is a friend of Ironclad. Awesome guy, former SEAL. Now he's a firearms instructor. We just worked with him on a new project for Blackhawk. It's called the No Fail series. We talk a little bit about that, and we talk about some other things, what drives Travis, how to be a good leader, and some more stuff. So you're not going to want to miss this episode. It's a great one. Well, thanks for coming on, man. I've been excited to chat with you. I haven't spoken to you since our last production, which was about 2 months ago now?
Yeah, I don't know. Time goes by, but yeah, it's been that long. Thank you for having me too.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming on. How is we talked about this a little bit, but how is life under COVID over there right now?
Right, it's getting better actually. The beginning of the month it was pretty bad. Pretty much I just been hunkered down at home, just focusing just on hanging out with my family and my girlfriend and just doing work stuff. Haven't really been out in the range until about 2 weeks ago. I actually start training clients again. So it's on the upside now. But
the range are open and everything like that?
Yeah, I'm fortunate enough I'm still able to train people. So the range is open.
Well, that's good. How about business? How's that going with everything? Are you adapting?
No, yeah, definitely. This kind of situation is actually, made my business in more of a need than ever. So I'm getting a lot more inquiries. Business has been good. So a lot of people are more concerned about their own safety, and a lot of new gun owners, especially right now. So a lot of people are looking for training.
Yeah, what are you seeing with that? I think right now it's kind of let people see the dependency that we've had, whether it's from the government side that we source everything to different countries, or on an individual side where we're like, man, I don't have proper food storage. I don't know what I'm doing when it comes to maintaining my home, self-defense, any of those things. What have you been seeing from your customers on that side? I think
definitely them just being scared of not being prepared. It's kind of an eye opener. I like to think this is an eye opener for everybody. We can't prepare for everything. But when things like this come around, people do start to get nervous, and they start thinking about their own personal safety, of not only themselves, but their family and their friends. So their first kind of knee-jerk reaction is, I need to start arming myself. First things first is I need to start arming myself. But I hope that people out of this, they go and seek some actually good training, actually learn how to use the weapon, because there are a lot of new gun owners, especially right now.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things that just because it's a right, people don't always put the duty behind it and understand that it's also their duty to be proficient and safe. And how do you stand with that when it comes to people who just buy and just assume that they've got it under control?
I think it's a slippery slope. It's a double-edged sword. It is our right as Americans to bear arms, but again, it's like you said, it's also, we need to do the due diligence to learn how to actually use it, because we like to say it's a right, but it's also a privilege. It's something that can be taken away from us very easily, but we need to be responsible gun owners. I always try to push that on people. Just because we can own one doesn't mean we're capable of actually using it effectively without harming, not only ourselves, but other people. So that's how I think about it. Sometimes it's concerning when I see all these people rushing to the gun store just to buy guns and buy all the ammo. And so it is kind of concerning, but it also is kind of a good thing, because I like to welcome new people kind of to the 2A community, if you like to say. But so I do welcome with open arms and offer at least some type of guidance, like, hey, come to me, I'll teach you how to use it the right way, that we could take it home and just be a responsible gun owner.
Yeah, and you've been doing a good job getting more content out about showing how to, and I've been noticing that, man. It's good stuff.
I know. It's a good opportunity right now, and I'm just trying to just offer to people. I want to increase my reach.
Yeah, it's growing.
Yeah, I'm in a bubble here in California, and I do travel occasionally, but right now it's only me, and I want to be able to train as many people as I can, and just pushing that content out, instructional videos, online training, et cetera. That's where it's going.
And that's kind of how we got introduced originally. I stumbled across your content, but I think as I learned about your content, I reached out to you and we worked together on some stuff. But you've got a cool story and you're able to integrate a lot of that into your training. One of the things that makes you unique is your background as a SEAL, but you've been able to tie that into training and tie a lot of that purpose. I thought it was really cool because a lot of people who listen to this are in different stages of life, but a lot of people that are doing big things. You went from doing the pinnacle, being the tip of the spear and being, something that everyone is such an aspirational career as being a SEAL, to getting out, and that transition phase, finding what you're going to do next is something that's a unique challenge that not a lot of people can recognize. Can you talk a little bit about what that transition was like for you and how you've tried to navigate through that?
Yeah, absolutely. I planned a year before I even got out. I thought, I had my plan in place. I actually was first considering on going into law enforcement. So I thought I had my ducks in a row. I thought it was going to be an exception to the rule because I always hear there's horror stories, veterans transitioning out. It's just like the worst thing ever. They struggle to find their purpose, their why, their next career move. And I didn't want to be that guy, to tell you the truth. And I thought I wasn't going to be. But again, as soon as I got out, April 2019, I thought it was me good to go. Law enforcement fell through. I moved back to California. And then once that fell through, I pretty much didn't have anything. I started just kind of like the scramble effect on what can I do? I started thinking about I want to do contracting jobs overseas. So I applied for a couple of those. I applied for private security positions here in LA, and I got a job. I worked there for 3 weeks. I hated it. It was just the place was really cool to work, but the roles and responsibility I had to do was just really boring, and I didn't like it. So I was this typical veteran, going through these jobs, not finding, my next purpose, my why. But, as soon as basically, long story short is I went to the range with some family friends, and then I started teaching them. Kind of second nature to me. I've always taught. We do a lot of teaching, being a SEAL overseas, doing, foreign internal defense with other countries, host nation. And just working with other new guys and team guys in general. So I'm familiar with it. I just started doing nationally, and it kind of dawned on myself how I could position myself to own my own business. And I always secretly was in love of even thinking about owning my own business. I read a lot of business books, always been fascinated about it. So it's just, once that kind of hit me in the face, I just hit the ground running. I mean, it just kind of had a little epiphany. I was I could really do this. And I just got really fired up and motivated. It was something of my own I could take responsibility for and put all my time and energy into. And if it fails, it fails. It's on me. And at least I was passionate about it, and I am, and I love it every day.
Yeah, I didn't realize this month was a year for you out.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Just a few days over past a year.
Yeah, that's crazy. And so you started your business right a year? Has it been a year or not quite yet?
Yeah, not quite yet. Next month it'll be about a year for the business.
What do you think's the toughest part from going from being in a team environment where everybody you're performing for the guy on your right and your left, and to going into you're your own man, you're an entrepreneur in the lonely world of business ownership? What has been the biggest difference and challenge for you? Yeah,
just being alone, not having that team with you to work with, to be surrounded with. And have that other extra element of being pushed by that. But man, it ebbs and flows. I never would have thought of experiencing anything like it. Just owning a business, teaching is easy. The hard part is actually running the business. It's like learning through a fire hose. I'm learning something every single day. I didn't know anything about running a business. To be honest with you, I didn't know anything at all. But just kind of learn as you go, kind of on the job training with the business world. But what I don't know, that's what gives me excitement, because I'm always constantly trying to learn something new, whether it's, again, mastering social media with the marketing, because I always think of that stuff. And that's what kind of how grew my business was social media. And I always thought of it about a business. Social media is a business to me. And I use it as just a tool, as a reaching tool to get people's attention and then convert and all that stuff. But and learning things every single day, just new things when it comes to marketing, client acquisition, pricing models, selling merchandise, now I'm selling online e-courses, etc. And I just love that stuff.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's crazy because I've seen the evolution just in a few months.
Yeah, it's been fast. Because I'm always trying to think I'm always thinking like, hey, what are the guys in this industry doing right now? And a lot of them are doing the same thing. Not like there's anything wrong with it. It's working. But I just wanted to be different in my business. Mine's, like I said, is just mainly just private type of instruction. But I'm actually leaning more towards the online realm because I want to build, I like to think of it as a recession-proof business. I want to build the online piece, with the KDS where my reach is even further, impact more lives. People can learn easier at the comfort of their own home or own range, own land, etc. That's the goal for my business. And I could kind of step away, then it frees me up as well. I could focus on the business, so I'm not tied up with teaching clients, 5 days a week, etc.
Yeah, man, it's cool to see that because a lot of people have been forced into that move right now, but it's something that's a natural progression for you. So that's good.
It is. Yeah.
What are you taking now? In your past career as a SEAL, you had to do so much adaptation, right? You're always assessing and adapting. Right now it's nothing but adaptation. And that, like I said, that's one of the biggest challenges for a lot of businesses, especially when it's this big wheel you got to turn. You have to adjust these things. You have to adjust cash flow models. You have to adjust your team training, your leadership training. What have you been able to pull from your past career to the adaptation as an entrepreneur?
It's always my head, basically head on a swivel, always paying attention to everything, just adapting. Especially being a SEAL, you need to adapt quickly. You need to make adjustments quickly. And if you don't, you're going to be left behind. It's such a fast-paced world. Being in the SEAL environment, SEAL community, everything is just like that. Time now, not time later. It's not like everyone's on the move, on the go. And it does translate into the business world. Everything is so fast-paced. Just whether come up with new ideas. Whether it's content, how am I going to reach more clients? How am I going to get more clients? Cutting costs, expenses, etc. Like, it's so fast that it's ever changing. It's just, I feel like there's always something I need to do, when it comes to a business. There's always something you can improve, tweak, make better. So the ability to change quickly and kind of work under stress too. And now as I see my business grow, I have more clients, now I'm starting selling stuff online. So I'm starting to see that influx of people, like the complaints, but people don't get their stuff on time, or they want refunds, or they want me to ship different things and their order got messed up. So those like little things, now I'm starting to be concerned about having just me is become an issue. And I need to kind of expand the team. Yeah.
So as you expand, you're going to have the other issue that a lot of guys have, especially coming from a world that you came from, where not everybody is wired the same, right? Where not everybody has the same mentality or understanding. Have you started thinking about that, how you're going to be able to instill that, or where that compromise is going to come in as you develop your team and build that team, with that balance between the mindset that you're taking to your business and the mindset that someone else would take to it?
People I work with, I come in kind of open-minded. Obviously, if they're going to work for my company, I'm going to have expectations up front. That's what I expect of them, as my employee, their duties and responsibilities. But like bringing people on board, like for example, I brought on my videographer, photographer guy. He's like, I would quote unquote, he's like the only contractor that works for me consistently. Where I lack ideas, I open mind for him. Like, hey, you have that vision, you have that view. Tell me what works best, and he's spot on every single time. I've learned, even like when I was a SEAL and I worked with new guys, I always came in again because I learned something new from even them. The newest new guy SEAL that doesn't know anything would come in and would teach me how to do something better. I found that, quite humbling sometimes. When I first experienced it, I was like, I was pissed off because I thought I was an older guy. But then every time after that, you got to be level-headed. I understand not everyone's going to be like me. Not everyone's a SEAL. I just try to bring in the good aspects, not the, hard-headed, hard charger, like my way or the highway type mentality. Honestly, it doesn't work. And I know for a fact, granted, I don't have any employees right now, but I know just my past experience with other guys in the platoons or new guys, et cetera, it just doesn't fly.
What are those things, those leadership lessons that you've learned? What are the things that you got to watch out for, and what are the things that you're strong at as a leader?
As a leader, like what I'm strong at is kind of actions speak louder than words. For me, is like I want anything I tell someone else to do, I should be able to do it. And like, because I always look back on just like the military, because that's my sole experience, is a good leader. He's, actions speak louder than words. If he's telling you to do something, sure as shit that this guy has done it 100 times and can do it probably better than you. So that's important to me. Where I lack sometimes, I can be impatient. I can be stubborn sometimes, where I see it one way and I'm like, no, I want it to done this way. So I could see that as kind of getting in the way with efficiency as far as business is concerned. Honestly, thought about hiring, other spec op guys or other SEALs to be other instructors for my company. But again, for me, I'm kind of taken back, and that because that could be another slippery slope as well, as bring on, again, I love like-minded guys in the same community, and I have thought about it long and hard. I just don't think I'm there yet, but that's, again, that dynamic of the relationship, the mentality, the attitudes, those conflicting attitudes. It could be difficult sometimes, because I always think back just in the platoon space, bunch of alphas sitting next to each other. Everyone knows how to do it their way. They think they're right. So things just don't go anywhere. In the civilian world, it's so much different. It's just so much different than being a SEAL. There's some few, carryovers that, translatable skills and stuff like that. But, being in the SEAL community, that's like this little bubble thing compared to working with people on the outside.
Yeah, that's good, man. It's a good point. And you see it so many times with people finding that balance, and they eventually find it. But a lot of times it's riddled with hiccups.
Yeah, that's like when I first started this business, I was like, look, I need to work with others and understand that, hey, I need to be better understanding, at the end of the day, as far as, and be able to communicate what I bring to the table as far as my skill set. If I'm working with other companies, like we're doing with Blackhawk, you guys yourself, because cool, I'm a SEAL, but again, that's it. Most people just know what they see in the TV, et cetera. And I didn't want to be, also, I did not want to be that SEAL that was just a dick and hard to work with, because I just had such an overbearing personality that people just didn't want to hang out with or even work with or deal with. And I've never really been like that. I feel like a lot of that's personality driven too. Even in the SEAL community, guys are like that. It's a lot of the personalities, and then add that on top of the, being a SEAL, and then add on the ego piece that just inflates everything even more. But always had just like that laid back attitude and just going level headed. And just what I found more now is, this is so like really, I feel like it's cliche to say, but like just like the relationship and, the people you work with, the friendships, the network, et cetera, like that's huge. Sometimes that's invaluable. The people that you could reach out to and just connect with and just get advice from. There's two guys that my business probably wouldn't even exist. It definitely would have taken me a hell of a lot slower to make my business if it wasn't for, two other guys, Jeff Reed, former SEAL, and this other guy, former SEAL, Sean Ryan, the business elite. Two guys, mentors, helped me with my business, great advice. And here I am today. Yeah. That's
huge, man. Having mentors is huge.
Yeah.
And I think with your background, you have the ability to reach out to people, and people are willing to get involved too, which is really cool. I want to talk a little bit about what we did together. We've got a video coming out very soon with Blackhawk. And the first time I reached out to you, man, is you were practicing what you're preaching now. You're really open to the idea, and we came out there, and dude, it's a badass video.
Oh, this epic video. I didn't even know what to expect, honestly, when we just started communicating over via email. I didn't really know. I didn't really know at all. I didn't even really know what to expect. I talked to Jeff a little bit, but seeing everything, all that hard work and what you guys have done in that final product. Yeah.
Yeah. So
and that's because I was watching myself like on video, like not at all. It was just, if I just were to look away and just listen, it's just a powerful message.
Yeah. We're kind of the same way. We do them so much. We do content so much. We travel, we go out, and we kind of get in these grooves. But you never know what you're going to get when you work with a talent. And you were game, man. You went for it. We were in the gym at one point, and we were pushing you. We wanted to be authentic at all times, but we were pushing you to do it again and again. You just kept going and going.
I was smoked.
Yeah. Yeah, that was good.
I was smoked by the end of it. I was, man, for real.
Yeah, well, that worked out. It was awesome. So that video rolls out this month, and I think it's gonna make some impact with some people. And obviously now you have a good relationship with Blackhawk, but hopefully that's just the beginning. And I can't encourage people enough to go see that. And I think it's gonna really motivate some people and impact people.
Yeah, no doubt. I have so many takeaways just from watching that video.
Good, man. Well, yeah, it's an awesome piece. What's next for you?
Same old thing right now. I'm still working with Blackhawk. Hopefully come up with some new product ideas about to drop in the near future. But just focusing on my own business, ramping up training clients. And then honestly, right now I'm really working on, I'm building that content machine like we've discussed.
Yep.
Have a plan now. And I think I have a good machine and built in place for that. And then I'm going to start focusing on my online training and building that up a lot too.
That's great, man. Yeah. And I think it's cool how you've been, you're kind of taking practices from other industries as well. It's like the people that are doing it right, whether it's exercise trainers or anybody else who are doing it right. That's what it's all about. We kind of try to look across industries and not just in the production world, but who's doing it right in this industry, that industry, and take inspiration and just continue to develop it. So you're doing it right, man.
It's funny how the people, when I first started the business, like, met my gym owner who's really popular in social media, like just looking at him, watching you guys now, watching Blackhawk, just exactly like scanning it, like who's doing right, who's putting out good content. For me, it was like important. I know we talked about this and you're like, yeah, I asked you like, how is that sustainable? And you're like, you just need to make it happen. Just make it a priority. And just honestly, just spend the money on it.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it is worth it because that stuff is paying me back threefold, fourfold, on whatever I paid on to create it.
Yeah. And to that point, if you weren't doing it in the first place, we wouldn't never found you in the first place, and which would have never been the Blackhawk, which would have never been. So it's just that compounding effect. What would you say to guys that are like about staying the course, whether it's in business, whether it's in training, whether it's in the military? There's something to be said about staying the course and following through. What would be your advice to that?
Like you said, scan across the board. Who's doing it right? Who has the most followers? Who is putting out the best guidance, best training? For me, I love like production value, especially now more than ever. Like I love like the visuals and, what they're teaching, how they're actually portraying it, how they are as a teacher is really valuable to me. But again, especially if someone is new, for example, in my industry, we start out, even former spec ops dudes, start out by giving good free information. Like I always thought, like people always right off the bat, like, all right, no, I want to start charging people immediately. Use those platforms. And this is what I did when I first started out. You can look back earlier when I first started the business, just like my videos were all instructional, all educational. Hey, this is how you do these things, a step-by-step guide. So people could really see where your value is and how you could add value to their lives and their training, regardless of what industry you're in, what can you offer in their lives? Cause that's what it's about, trying to add value to other people. For me, that's what business is really at the end of the day is what it's about. It's about the customers and stuff like that. So just don't just do your own thing and think your way is right. Like we talked about, look who is doing it right. And most importantly, again, mentors. Ask for advice, ask for help. I did that immediately. When I spoke to Jeff that first time and I was like, look, what is your first piece of advice for me? He's like, look, ask for advice. Don't be ashamed about your resume, and this is how, X, Y, and Z is what I want you. This is what you should do. This is what I did, and this is how I became who I am today. And that was kind of like the best. Be yourself. And then Sean Ryan's like, don't be a hard ass. Have some personality. Be easy to work with. These little tips like that really went a long way, especially when it comes to business.
Power is literally everything to us.
All right, action.
When you're a professional traveling as much as we do, we can't sacrifice on power to get the perfect shot.
The last thing you want to be worried about is your battery.
We're very selective with the brands that we trust.
Not sure if we're gonna have a charging station, but we have an entire drawer full of core batteries.
Knowing that we have power that we can trust when we're out here on the road makes all the difference.
Power is something that's easy to take for granted until it fails.
You risk losing your data, you risk losing the stuff that you just worked so hard on.
Without proper power, our equipment, no matter how great the technology, are paperweights.
Just wrapped our chute in the Philippines, tested them in the elements, the heat, the wind, the rain.
Usually when it's really cold, power gets zapped like that. It's freezing out here, and this power's been holding all day.
We rely on powering products that are designed to meet our rigorous demands, so we never miss a moment.
So we have the primes, we have the minis, different power solutions for different power needs.
They last forever. We got a visibility on how long we have on them.
Intelligent Power and air travel certified.
To charge our phones and charge our devices.
There are some cool things Core has in the works. Stay tuned for the Helix.
As the technology of our trade gets more complex, we're confident that the power we use will not only match it, but help bring it into the future.
The story doesn't stop for anyone, and that is why we choose Core.
So we're gonna go into our next segment. This one is this is kind of like speed round, right? We just ask some basic questions, but just kind of keeping you on your feet. So I'll start you off. What's the best advice you've ever received?
It was from my father when I was younger. He told me to never settle in my career.
Yep.
You know, my father taught me a lot about business, but when it came to career, I know this is like back before I even wanted to become a SEAL. You know, he's like, don't ever settle for just being kind of, what he meant by it was just don't ever settle for kind of just meaningless status quo when it comes to your career. You always want something more. And granted, this, and he, like he said, in the beginning, I was like, I'm just going to join the military. He's like, no, you're going to join the military and do something special, do something better than just the average person that would ever just join the military. So for me, that was huge. And today, they apply everything I did. I never settle for just kind of mediocrity, etc. I'm always trying to strive for that extra level.
That's great. Good. All right, next one. If you could go back 20 years and tell yourself something, what would it be?
I'd probably tell myself, hey, I need to run more, try to go to buds. No, on a serious note, probably that too. But as far as advice is concerned, I wish I would have told myself, you know, just kind of the grass is not always green on the other side. Meaning sometimes when I was a SEAL, when I was a young SEAL, I would find myself getting this kind of had like a bitter attitude sometimes. I think it has to do because I was young and immature. Just I was used to like authority of the military being told what to do sometimes. You know, granted, it never got me in trouble, but I was looking back, I would have a bad attitude. And I always think about, oh, it could be better this way, it could be better that way, or et cetera. Just always complaining. This was when I was really young. So if I were to earlier, like a young SEAL, like 21, 22, I would tell myself, you know, be grateful, don't complain, you know, and the grass is not always green on the other side. You know, it's greener. Where you make it, it could be greener.
That's good, man. What's one thing a person should do every day? I guess,
and they wouldn't be exercise, just be active and have routine. Because then that translates into building good habits, which then translate into being more, you know, proficient in the day, effective, etc.
That's good. All right. What's an attribute that every leader should foster in themselves?
Having humility.
It's a good one. That one's hard for people who are naturally good too.
It is a difficult one, but I think that the best leaders or the best individuals, regardless if they're a leader or not, have the utmost humility, or humble, and they just understand that. having an understanding of that as well. Even though they may know they are better at certain things than others, but they don't have that demeanor or that attitude that just flaunt it or have it their way or no way. Yeah,
that's great. All right, so this one's always my favorite one to ask. It's if you could issue a 1-week challenge to our listeners to start right now that would change their lives for the better, what would it be?
I'm going to make this really easy. Like I said, I'm going to fall back on the exercise piece because that is such a huge thing in my life. And this is going to be an exercise. It's going to be very easy. You don't need a gym at all. Wake up, get out of bed, do 50 push-ups for 1 week. It doesn't have to be in a row. Just get it done before you actually leave for the day out of your house. Get them done. So you could do sets of 5, you could do sets of 10. Just get it done. One, you have a goal, you meet it. First check in the morning. Good. Then you can finally make your bed, brush your teeth, eat, then go to work. For me, it's about consistency. It's about routine. And then exercise, again, I always fall back on exercise. A lot of people do, but it had such a huge impact on my life on being, not only physically fit, but mentally fit and mentally resilient and physically resilient throughout my career. I test a lot of my lack of injuries. I haven't really been severely injured. You can look back, a lot of SEALs have a lot of injuries. They get hurt a lot, because the job is dangerous. But I attest to my kind of resiliency to my good habits, my frequency of exercise, being on a good routine, eating right, exercising, not every single day, but pretty much every single day. Just are really good for just kind of everything all around. And I can't attest that to enough to anybody who's just looking to kind of get started on the right path. Is just implement exercise in your life, because if you look back, it's probably because they're feeling down, unmotivated, no mental clarity, because they don't really have any type of structure in their life, or they may not have exercise or not eating right. Things just add up, but start there. Good place to start. It's very easy to do, calisthenic, and you're going to feel better about yourself, no doubt.
That's awesome. And I agree, man. I think you get, out of the gate, you get more mentally than you do physically. You start feeling it after a couple of weeks of it, you start getting the physical results, but mentally, man, it gives you that edge.
Yeah. A lot of people ask me, how do you get mentally hard? How do you get mentally tough? How did you get mentally tough before you went to BUD/S and became a SEAL? I'm like, look, it was structure. It was my routine in my life. It was how I worked out. All that stuff had a compounding effect to make me mentally hard and resilient and make me be able to be successful to becoming a SEAL. And that want and desire was there too to become a SEAL. That needs to be there. But that mental toughness, like you said, it's just going to build as your body gets stronger, as that routine goes on. Like you said, you're just going to start feeling great, start feeling good. You're going to look at yourself like, damn, look what I was doing. Look what I'm now doing. I'm getting better shape. I'm getting stronger. And that's how it goes. There's no secret. Just like with anything else, And
it's there for everyone. That's the reality. No matter where you're at or what you're capable of, it's there for you to get there.
All right, action. So we'll do our wide and we'll do our close up here.
Scene 101A, take 3.
Guys, is this my trailer?
Let's do one of these and then we're good. All right, ready? Oh, that storm is blasting. That sun comes out for real right there. That's worth the fight.
3, 2, 1.
All right, cool. So we're going to go into our final segment, and this is kind of like the sound off segment. And this is something that I think you can speak uniquely to. And we kind of touched on it earlier, but this is kind of where you can kind of give your thoughts on the importance or the why behind of a conviction you have. And in this conviction, I want to talk about training and proficiencies, specifically when it comes to firearms, right? And I think you train people across all spectrums, from civilian to law enforcement to military, correct? You've had people from all backgrounds. But why is it important that people train if they're going to carry?
Like we touched on this earlier, is like being a responsible gun owner. And by that, I mean, you must be trained to know how to operate that gun, because now you're not only liable, now you're liable for every round that you send out downrange. If in the event you actually do use it, this is kind of related to civilians, you must be trained. You must be accountable for everything you do. Okay. Now we want to translate it over to law enforcement. that is your job. That is your duty to be the most proficient in firearms as you can be. Granted, there are limitations of these things. They can't get as much training as they would like, but I think it all boils down to the individual, that they need to take the time to really beef up those skills. Granted, not everyone needs to be up here like top tier shooter, but you do need to be a level of proficiency where you are confident. And I always like to tell people, become a thinking shooter. And by that, people are like, what does that even mean? I'm like, you're aware of what's going on. You actually think under times of stress. You can operate when, for example, people are shooting back at you. You can pull out your gun and effectively use that gun. That's a thinking shooter. You're not voice activated. You're not a liability. You're an asset. And all these things come with owning a firearm. You must take the time to anybody could just purchase a gun. All right. But like I said, maybe not anybody, but whoever is legally able to buy a gun can buy a gun. But then you're just going to stow it. It's one person who actually takes it upon themselves, and it is up to the individual person to take it upon themselves to actually seek out training, even if it's just maybe one formal lesson, and they get some good structure, good foundation, and they could go out and practice and kind of build that pyramid there, and become kind of an efficient shooter. It's huge.
What would you want people to know who are considering buying or are on the fence of buying a gun? Because I think a lot of people buy it and, to your point, put it in, I'm okay, or like, I don't know if I should buy one. What would you want people to know? I want people to know that there are places where they can go to learn before they even go buy. Before you even go buy, go to actual instruction, go to the range, rent a gun, get a formal instruction, learn how to hold the gun, what it feels like, see if you're comfortable or not. It may not even be for you. Owning a gun isn't for everybody. I've worked with plenty of people who bought guns and then just stowed it in their closet and completely scared of it, didn't even want to look at it. So then what's the point of it? If you're going to buy a gun, you need to mentally kind of prepare yourself that I need to be able to learn how to use this thing in the event of emergency if and when I have to use it. And that kind of ultimately we all think about in the real world is, the gun is for safety. If we're buying the gun for personal reasons, for personal protection, then we must train in accordance with that. We must be ready to actually use it in the event of emergency. And if we're not ready for it, then we just become a liability to not only ourselves, but our family, friends, other civilians that are around. So it can have a compounding effect. But if you are a new gun owner or someone who's thinking about buying a gun, I encourage everyone, whoever listens to this, just to really seek out training or go test it out first. Test the waters. See if you like it or not. It's a little bit of a rabbit trail, but how do you know that you get the right trainer?
Credibility is huge when it comes to people. People who actually be wary of the instructors who actually don't demonstrate what they're trying to tell you to do and then expect you to do it. Really dig deep, find out who that instructor is, look at their background, look at what they've done, look how long they've been actually instructing firearms, and then just kind of make a strategic decision based off that, whatever type of, because the industry is huge and it's blanketed with so many instructors. Just kind of maybe just go to your local area, the city that you live in, and I guarantee you there's going to be a dozen firearms instructors, but probably among that dozen, there's probably 3 or 4 that are really solid and have good reputations, good credibility. They're going to teach you right, most importantly. And again, that's what I advocate. Learn right the first time. That's, again, so you don't build those bad habits. It's going to make you worse or even more of a liability if you have bad habits. And I see it all the time. People train, people learn in their backyard, no fault of their own. They just point, shoot, learn bad habits, and it becomes really unsafe. Because that's huge. Number one priority when it comes to firearms is safety.
Well, Travis, man, that's it, man. I that was a fun little conversation we had. We've already burned through our time.
No, man, that's great.
I appreciate everything, man. I've really enjoyed watching your stuff, watching your content continue to evolve, watch your message continue to evolve. I can't wait for what's to come with you.
No, thanks, man. I appreciate you guys, what you did, what you produced, and just kind of being part of the team, man. I appreciate everything.
Thanks again for tuning into the Ironclad podcast on the Ironclad Content Network. Thanks to Travis Kennedy and Blackhawk. Don't forget, guys, you can check out Travis's new episode of the Blackhawk No Fail series on YouTube. You can also check us out on Instagram @ThisIsIronclad. See you next time.